Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really incredible. We're taking a macro to micro journey through the awe-inspiring evolutionary marvels and the fascinating medical history of human pregnancy. It's a journey that's going to take us all the way from the grand survival strategies of the animal kingdom right down to a literal window into the human womb. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We're going to cover nature's reproductive strategies, the evolutionary compromise, milestones in pregnancy safety, the ultrasound revolution, and we'll wrap up with a window into the womb. Let's get right into it. Kicking things off with Section 1, Nature's Reproductive Strategies, Big Bang versus High Investment. So before we zero in on humans, it really helps to see how we fit into the much grander, wilder scheme of animal reproduction. Nature basically gives animals two fundamental options. On one hand, you have Big Bang reproduction. This is highly energy-consuming mass reproduction. Think of things like Pacific salmon or certain spiders. They basically breed once, produce just a massive number of offspring, and offer very little parental investment. They're playing the numbers game, right? Hoping just a few make it. On the flip side, we have high-investment reproduction. And this is our strategy. Humans, much like elephants, bear just a few high-quality babies over a lifetime, but we pour immense time and intense care into making sure they survive and thrive. And honestly, nature gets incredibly creative with how it pulls this off. Whether you're looking at animals that lay eggs or vivipary, where live young are actually nurtured inside the body, evolution completely hones pregnancy for survival. Just picture the male emperor penguin, standing out there on the ice, painstakingly incubating a single egg on his feet in freezing temperatures. Or what about the male seahorse? He literally carries fertilized eggs in a brood pouch and gives birth. Every single species has its own highly tailored approach to passing the baton of life. Which naturally leads us to Section 2, the evolutionary compromise, walking upright versus big brains. Because you see, being human comes with a very unique, very specific biological dilemma for mothers. To really grasp this dilemma, just think about this number for a second. 1,100 to 1,700 cubic centimeters. That is the sheer massive volume of a human brain. To put that into perspective, our closest living relative, the chimpanzee, tops out at only about 300 to 500 cubic centimeters. A human newborn's brain is already a quarter of the size of a fully grown adult's. We produce incredibly intelligent, big brain babies. But as you can imagine, that massive brain creates a pretty serious logistical challenge. And here is the catch. In order for us to walk upright on two legs, our pelvises had to adapt. They became short and broad. But that structural change created a serious bottleneck, a curved, narrow birth canal that is a remarkably tight fit for those giant brains we just talked about. Unlike other primates, human babies are pretty much the exact same size as the birth canal. It is a really delicate, conflicting balance between upright mobility and high intelligence. So how in the world do we actually support the growth of such complex, energy-demanding brains in the womb? Well, evolution's answer is the placenta. It's a temporary, totally life-sustaining organ that literally burrows deep into the uterine wall. Think of it as a biological bridge. It passes nutrients and oxygen from the mother's blood straight into the fetus while simultaneously carrying waste and carbon dioxide out. A lot of scientists argue that we literally could not have evolved our large brains without this deep tissue connection providing that vital energy. Moving right along to Section 3, Milestones in Pregnancy Safety, Giving Nature a Helping Hand. Because of that evolutionary compromise, that incredibly tight squeeze we were just looking at, human childbirth was historically quite perilous. But modern medicine stepped in and completely changed the game. Even just a century ago, it wasn't unusual at all to see maternal death rates hitting 500 for every 100,000 births. Today, in developed nations, that number has absolutely plummeted to between 4 and 17 per 100,000. It is a stunning victory for science. And it's the direct result of better hygiene, the discovery of antibiotics in the 1930s, and a rapid acceleration of medical technology that just slashed the risks associated with giving birth. And when you look at the timeline here, you really get a sense of how wildly obstetrics transformed in the second half of the 20th century. In 1952, we got APGAR scoring, which finally gave doctors an instant, systematic way to assess if a newborn needs help right away. By 1959, ultrasound scanning was introduced. Fast forward a bit to 1978, the first IVF baby is born, which fundamentally changed fertility forever. And by 2004, we saw the first baby born from an ovarian tissue transplant. The sheer pace of innovation to keep mothers and babies safe is just staggering. Now, let's explore Section 4, the ultrasound revolution, seeing with sound. Out of all those medical milestones, ultrasound truly gave us an unprecedented look at fetal development. Fun fact, this technology was actually inspired by wartime sonar used to detect submarines. Back in 1958, an obstetrician named Ian Donald adapted the concept to safely see inside the human body. And the process is actually pretty straightforward. First, a special gel goes on the abdomen to wipe out any air pockets. Next, a handheld device called a transducer sends out high-frequency sound waves. These waves are totally safe. They travel into the body and bounce off solid structures to create echoes. Finally, a computer catches those echoes and instantly translates them into those real-time 2D images we're all so familiar with. Now, inside that handheld wand is a fascinating little component called a piezoelectric crystal. When you apply electrical energy to it, this crystal physically distorts, it rapidly expands and contracts. And that movement is exactly what generates those high-frequency sound waves. It's literally creating a sonic picture of the developing fetus, completely avoiding any need for harmful radiation. It's just incredible. So if you've ever stared at a 2D scan and thought to yourself, okay, what am I actually looking at here? Here is the secret. It's all based on density. When the sound waves hit something super solid, like a fetal skull or a leg bone, they bounce right back. And the computer shows that as bright white. When they hit softer muscle tissue, you get various shades of gray. And when those waves travel straight through liquid, like amniotic fluid, or empty cavities like the chambers of a tiny heart, they don't bounce back at all. So those areas appear pure black. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, a window into the womb, the microjourney. Let's slow down the pace just a bit here, because the visual payoff of modern computing power is just phenomenal. We aren't limited to blurry 2D slices anymore. We can actually witness the delicate process of ossification happening in real time. This is a fetus at 16 weeks. You are watching bone formation in action. The skeleton actually starts out as soft cartilage, and then slowly, from the middle of the bone outwards, it hardens into true bone. But nature is super clever. Even at 29 weeks, those bones remain relatively soft. And that's to ensure that the eventual journey through that tight, curved birth canal we talked about earlier is as safe and flexible as possible. Now, check out the insane detail on these 3D scans of the hands and feet. The timeline here is just mesmerizing. At 6 weeks, the limbs are just these tiny, paddle-like little buds. By week 9, distinct toes start to appear. And get this, by week 23, the fetus has formed its own unique microscopic fingerprints. You can clearly see a fully formed hand feeling around and exploring its environment. But what's really breathtaking is the sheer humanity we can capture before birth. Here's a 38-week-old fetus. Because these powerful computers can render surfaces in 3D by stitching all those 2D slices together, we can literally witness facial expressions inside the womb. We can see them yawning, rubbing their eyes, or literally sticking out their tongue. 50 years ago, doctors were limited to just feeling a mother's abdomen from the outside. Today, we get a front row seat to watch a baby stretch and react in real time. It really is a macro to micro marvel, isn't it? From the grand evolutionary puzzle of upright walking and giant brains to the brilliant medical breakthroughs that keep us safe today, the science of pregnancy is just an absolute testament to the magic of life. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. With imaging technology and medical science advancing at such lightning speed, what new, breathtaking secrets of human development do you think we'll uncover next?